In this video, I'm going to show you how to automate daily tasks like scheduling meetings and follow-ups in Google Calendar using Airtable and Make. Check it out. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Zach Stevenson. I'm a business process and no-code consultant. If you need help streamlining or automating any of your business processes, you can visit our website, InnerDevSolutions.com, or you can click the link in the description below to book a free consult. There's a lot of different daily tasks that you could automate either partially or completely, depending on what it is that you are trying to accomplish. Things like creating tasks and assigning those tasks to different employees, creating recurring tasks that you have to do on some sort of scheduled basis. With the advancement of AI, there's a lot of data entry that can be automated completely or partially, requiring maybe somebody to review it at the end of the completion of the automation. For example, if forms or different data gets submitted via email or through PDFs, AI can do a great job of extracting the information and putting it in a format that's more usable. There's truly an endless list of examples. But in this video, as I mentioned from the start, I'm going to show you how to automate and create events in your calendar or in your company's calendar through Airtable and Make. I've got two simple tables set up. I have a meetings table and a contacts table. In the contacts table, I've left it fairly simple. I just have a full name with a single line text field for the company. I have an email, and then I have it linked to my meetings table. And then in meetings, I have my primary key, which is just a formula field of the meeting ID, which is concatenating the contact and also the date and time of the meeting. And then I have a few fields here. So I have a date and time field. And the way I have it set up is I'm including the time, and I'm using the same time zone for all collaborators. And I've picked my time zone. So depending on your company, if you're spread out across multiple time zones, you might have to configure this a little bit differently. Again, I've got the context field linked into the meetings table. So I'm linking meetings to contacts and contacts to meetings. I have a single select field for salespeople, and then I have a call link and an event link. I'll show you that shortly. Notes, any general note about the meeting or the call result. And then I'll get to these last two in a bit here. Go in and add a record, schedule a meeting for later today, maybe at 1 p.m., for example. And then here I can go select my contact that I am scheduling the meeting with, and we'll just pick John Smith. We can jump into Make and build out our scenario. Start with a webhook, because in Airtable, what we'll do is we'll add a field, the button field. When that button is clicked, it's going to call out to the webhook and send some data. Click the custom webhook, and we will just add a new webhook here. I'll just call this a demo, but we are going to create a calendar. We can save this and it will produce a webhook for us, and we can copy the address here to our clipboard, and we're going to hit OK. Before I continue, I do want to set up this first button in Airtable. Go in here, add a field. We'll use the button field type, book meeting, and you can pick whatever color you want for the button. And then I'm going to use a concatenate field within quotes. I'm going to paste in the webhook, and then we're going to add parameters. And the way you do that is you add a question mark at the end. I'll just put in record. This is going to be the key. And then we'll put an equal sign. And on the other side of the quotation mark, I'll add a comma, and I'll just bring in the record ID, which is a function built into Airtable. Now, when I create this field and I click this link now, it will go to this URL here, and it will append the record ID, basically assign the unique record ID from this record, the record key. And that information will be passed to Make. I'll save that, and I'm going to right click on this webhook and run this module only. And we can come in here and give that a test. I'll click book meeting. A new page or tab gets opened up. I can just close that out, and I will go back into Make, and we can see that the key is record, and it's passed in this unique record ID. Now, next step, I'm going to go down here, select a webhook, and we're going to use this webhook response. You don't have to use a webhook response, but what I like to do, because as you just saw, when I clicked the button, it opened up a new tab. I'm going to enter a script that just automatically closes that tab for us once the webhook is passed to that step. I'm just going to paste in this script here, but it's just some simple HTML with some JavaScript built in using the window.close function. You can take a look at this and add this to your script or to your webhook response. I'll hit OK here and we can move on to the next step. The two things that we need to do now is we need to get our meeting record and we need to get our linked contact record. I can click this, add a module, we'll go into Airtable and we will get a record here. I need to select my base, which is automate daily tasks. And now I've already created a connection that has access to this base. I can go in and select it. But if you are not connected to Airtable yet from Make, you'll just click this add button. It will bring up an Airtable window. You'll have to log into Airtable if you're not already and go select your base or your workspace that you want this connection to have access to. Selected the automate daily task base. Now I can select my table, which is meetings, and the record ID I'm going to get from the webhook here. I can hit OK. I like to rename these modules when we have similar ones. This is just going to be simply get meeting, and I can hit OK. And I'm going to clone this module, and I can go back in here, rename it to get contact, and we'll have to open this up and reconfigure. So it's got the base. I can go in, select a different table, which is a contacts table, and I actually need to pass in a different record ID. And the record ID I'm going to pass in is from the Airtable module, and we can go down to the contact. I'm going to drop this down and just pass in the first item, and I'm going to hit OK. So quickly in Airtable, as you can see, if I double click on the contacts, we can see I'm not allowing linking to multiple contact records. There's only going to be one contact that I add to this meeting, or at least in Airtable. Now that I have these two steps set up correctly, I can go in and add my next module, which is going to be create an event in Google Calendar. So I add new module, start typing in calendar, and I will click this Google Calendar option and we will create an event. Again, you will have to authenticate and make a connection to your Google account. You just click add and go through the similar steps, log into your Google account or Gmail account. I'm going to use the in detail option. There is a quickly option, which requires less information, but I'm going to pass in each individual detail. You need to select your calendar that you want to add the event to. I'm just going to add it to my main or primary calendar for myself, and then we can create an event name. What I want to do is pass in the contact name. So I'm getting the contact. I can pass in their full name, and then in brackets, I just want to enter the company so that I can have reference to who I am dealing with. And then on the flip side, I'm just going to go and then pass in the salesperson name. And because the salesperson is all related to my company, I will just put in my company name as static text. All day event is no. Start date, we're going to pass in the meeting date or the date and time, and then down to duration 1 hour. You can click this show advanced settings to add additional information. If you want, we can add a description. I'm going to leave that blank. Go down to the send notifications about the event. I'll select it to all guests. Attendees, that's something I missed. I can pass in the contact information. So we can put in the full name and then their email as well. And the last thing that I want to change is this add Google Meet video conferencing. I want to enable that. We'll click yes. After we create the event, I'll go into here and we will update a record, which is going to be the original meeting record. So you have to go in and select your base, select your meetings table, pass in the record ID, which is from the get meeting, or we can use the webhook. They will be the same ID. Then we can scroll down to this call link. And the call link we'll get from the Google Calendar create event. And there should be an option for Hangout link, and that is your call link, and then event link. And you're going to use, I believe it is called HTML link. It's right here. And that is a link to the event in the Google Calendar. And that's everything that we need to add for this path. I can click this run once. I'll go into Airtable and make sure that we have our date, time, contact, and salesperson, which we do. And we can just go in here and book a meeting. You can see that it opened and closed based off of the script here. And it looks like everything was successful. If I go back into Airtable, scroll across to the right, we can see I have my call link in line and I have my event link. If I click this event link, it's created an event here and assigned or added a Google Meet link, and it's added a guest as well that will receive an invitation through Google Calendar invite. Now, the next step to this, if we want to create a follow-up, it's going to be a very similar process, but we're going to have to make some changes in Make. Instead of re-adding all this information, we can make it really simple for the user once the call is done to come in here and book a follow-up. Click the follow-up date and time, maybe for Friday, and we'll do that at 9:30 a.m. And then I also have this related meeting linked record, and it's actually a linked record within the same table. When I click into it, it's just linking to this meetings table, and I will show you how to use that in a moment. Right click on the create meeting button, and I will duplicate this field. I'm going to change the color of it and label this book follow-up. I'll save that and drag it down to be in line with our other follow-up information. Click into this and make one other change. Based on the URL formula here, just before the records or record key and just after the question mark, I'm going to add in an additional parameter. And this one is just going to be called type. It's going to be the key. I'll hit the equal sign and I will just type in follow-up and all one word and add in the and symbol here. When I click this button, it's going to call that webhook and it's going to pass in an additional parameter of type, and it's just going to say follow-up. So we can use that in a filter and add a router within our Make scenario. In our Make scenario, I'm going to go down to just past the get contact. I'm going to right click and we'll add a router, and I'll just click the plus and we can add in additional modules. I'm actually going to click on the Google Calendar one. We'll clone this and drop it in because it's going to be mostly the same information. We're just going to have to map a few more parameters. Right click on the webhook again. We'll run that module only, and we'll send the new parameter to Make, and we can see there's a new parameter of type and follow. I can go to this first path, click the filter option. We'll set up a filter and just call this something like new meeting. And we can go into the condition, and as long as the type does not exist, it will create a new meeting. We'll also create a filter on the second path. We'll set up a filter and we'll just call this one a follow-up. And that's if the type is equal to follow-up, all lowercase, all one word. Now, when I go into this create event, we can pass in the same information, select the same calendar. The start and date time is going to change. I need to back that out. We'll go down to the follow-up date and time and pass that one in. Because again, what we're doing is we're coming across here, adding the new date and time, and then selecting the button from this record. We need to add that follow-up date and time. We can leave it as an hour, or if you want to change it to half an hour, 45 minutes, you can do that as well. Description, we'll just label follow-up, and everything else should remain the same. So we hit OK. I'm going to go to that last step and we will create a new record. And what we want to do is create a new meeting record. Make sure you select your correct base. We'll go into tables. We're going to create a new record in the meetings table, and we will pass in all of the information that we have within previous steps in our scenario. So from the get meeting, we'll pass in the follow-up date and time. The contact is actually we'll use this map option, and we will just use the ID from the get contact. The salesperson, we'll pass that in, assuming that stays the same. Maybe it changes and you need to add to this workflow. The call link we need to get from our new Google event that we created. And again, that is the Hangout, which you can also search for these options. One's called HTML link. We can pass that one in. Notes, and this is in Airtable. So I'll just put that's a follow-up. And the related meeting here, I'm going to click this map option and we will pass in the original meeting that we have reference to that. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But again, we'll go to the get meeting and pass in the ID. Now that's all entered, we can hit OK. It's good to always save your scenario. And now that we have our filter set up, and I think everything should be set up correctly, we can click this run once button. We'll go back into Airtable. We have a date and time set up. So we can just click this book follow-up. And you can see that it opened and closed the webhook window quickly. And we have a new record. It's passed in the correct date and time based on our follow-up, added the contact salesperson, created a different call link and a different event link. So it looks like it's passed in all of our information correctly. And it's also added the related meeting. Now, if I click into this, I can see any details. Again, assuming that there's a lot more records in this. So if I'm going to have my call, I can easily click into here and reference previous conversations or previous records and meetings that had been scheduled. That's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more tutorials in the future.